So the leaflet, Investing for a Better Future, 5 Tips to Do More with Your Savings. We just go through to the first, after the cover slide, the next slide. Obviously, we're making a distinction here between saving, putting your money aside, and investing, making your money work harder and grow. We then actually have featured in several parts of the leaflet some specific examples. So I think that this will be hopefully be useful. We tried, obviously, very importantly in the entire leaflet to avoid using jargon and to explain clearly some of the basic important concepts in financial literacy. So this is obviously showing you what happens when your money sits in a bank account today at low interest rates and the impact of inflation. So this is just one example of that we'll see you'll see when you review the leaflet of the common financial literacy principles. We then move on to the slide that actually shows you the tips 1 through 5, setting up a budget, start investing as soon as you can, even small amounts, which is a really important point. Learn how to evaluate risk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, and just get started. So if we can just briefly go through setting up a budget. We work through the slide that shows the details of tip 1. So focusing on your income, essential spends, non-essential spends, and obviously trying to point this out in an easy way, easy to read way, and obviously a very clear, we hope a very clear way. Moving on then to the next page, we speak about a budget for investment and focusing on 3 different types of savings. So rainy day savings, goal-oriented savings that you can actually put to work in terms of investing, and then retirement savings. Then moving on, the next tip, start investing as soon as you can, even small amounts. So I think this is the group, the platform discussed that this is actually something that I think a main challenge with all ages, but perhaps more importantly with the younger generation, the thought that in order to invest, you have to have a lot of money already. But it's absolutely not true. Not only is it important to start early because of the value of the power of compound interest, which we'll show you next, but also you can invest small amounts, and it's important to invest, again, starting early. So we can move on to the next slide, which shows why that's important, the power of compound interest. And here it sets out an example of someone investing 10,000 euro over a 10-year period, so 1,000 euro each year. That's Anne. And the fact that she starts at age 25 actually means that at age 65 she ends up with more than David, who actually invests twice as much money, so 1,000 euro over 20 years. But because he starts investing at age 40, he actually ends up with less. So start early is definitely the takeaway here. Then moving on to tip 3, learn how to evaluate risk. We could just go through these slides relatively quickly because I think this is hopefully something that you'll be interested in taking the time to read. Then we move on to tip 4, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So showing and giving an example as well. If we keep going, we see the power of diversification. And I think this is, hopefully you agree, this is a nice, clear example of, again, that power of diversification, diversifying your investments. Then we move to the final tip, which is just get started. I think that was obviously also an important message for us as a platform to ensure we put into the brochure. And then if we move on then to, so we have also, I think a point that's important here is the fact that it's always important to ask questions. And these are an example of some of the questions that investors or people thinking about investing should ask to whoever they end up going to for advice about investing. Then we also, if we move on over to the useful links page, We set out a couple of links about some of these important concepts, financial literacy concepts, inflation, compound interest, and diversification. We also set out, we are a European Asset Management Association. We also set out putting a link about UCITS, so European investment funds, also about an investment club as a way of investing. And we set out the principles of finance. So if we click on the link Principles of Finance, we'll see actually quite a bit more information that is actually the work and the fruit of one of our speakers today. So please do check that out as well. Okay,